Okay, so I'm going to tell you my story and what I've been through so that you guys might find some resolve, you might be able to relate to the journey I've been on. And I always find when I listen to stories of somebody who has been through something that I'm going through, that I find some value out of it. So I'm just going to speak with you now, just vulnerably and openly for the coming minutes and tell you what I've been through and what I've done and what it was like for me living with these tics in the body for so long. And hopefully you can just allow the story to wash over you. Nothing to really do here or necessarily learn per se or take away, but just listen and allow my words to wash over you both. And hopefully, you may pick up a clue or two or an interesting snippet or two, or maybe what I'll share will just relate to you and you'll be able to go, yeah, that's what I'm experiencing, or that's what I went through, or that's what I'm going through. And it's nice to have somebody to put words to what I'm experiencing, because we're not all very good at putting words to what's going on inside of us. Quite often there's a lot of things happening inside and we're not really fully aware of it. But when somebody mentions it, we're like, oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, I can relate to that thing. Anyway, I'm going to share my journey with you. So for me, the motor tics started around 12, 13 years old, just when I started high school. So some people start later, some people start the movements a little bit earlier. Everybody is different, right? But for me, it was around this age. But even before then, I can remember having some OCD tendencies. So like things like needing to regularly cut my nails compulsively, a little bit more than necessary, pulling up my socks was always a thing that I wanted to do to feel comfortable or balance the legs in some way, So I used to do that a lot. And like when I was younger, like 9, 10, 11, something like that. But it wasn't until about 13 that the body started moving by itself. And for me, it was just the body. I didn't, as I've shared before, I didn't have the vocal stuff, but it's still a movement of the body. There's still an impulse to move, to make a sound or the motor. But for me, the motoring started here. It was like, there's my nose. And I was doing this nose twitch. I used to call it a twitch, not a tic back then. And it was a nose twitch. And that started at school. And you know what? It didn't bother me at the beginning. There was just something uncomfortable in my body that I felt like I needed to move or do or push or like control, or just like if I do it, it feels a little bit better. Like I feel there's a little bit of relief in the movement that I'm doing. And so I did it like constantly. I just kept doing it. And I can laugh at it now, but at the time it stood out, right? Like it stood out because the people around me didn't really know what I was doing, and they, after a while, kind of pointed to it a little bit. And it wasn't necessarily that people were outrageously judging me or bullying me, at least at the beginning. I could see that people were looking at it, and that made me a little bit self-conscious, a little bit worried about, what's wrong? Why are people looking at me? I don't want people to look at me. It feels uncomfortable. Like these kind of feelings and emotions were very much alive in me. I started getting a little bit fearful or scared of being seen. Yeah. So over the years, it evolved, right? So if you've been living with a ticking body for a while, you'll know that usually the tics move, right? The tics, the twitches, the Tourette's, it moves around the body. We find ourselves with different expressions of the urges and the energy inside of us. And so for me, like it started here, but it quickly moved to my jaw, and I was like constantly like ticking my jaw and wanting to move my jaw and like stretch my jaw. It was like I needed to stretch it, which then moved to like my neck. And I was doing this stuff like neck rolling and moving my shoulders around and like fully like going back like this, and it wasn't aggressive in its movements usually for me, but it was like, oh, I need to get to something. It's like I need to get to something, right? And if I get to it, it'll be okay. Right? So this is experience again and again. And that same, like, there was an urge, and then there was like me giving in to the urge. Right? There's the urge, and then there's the giving into it. And the urge is like, if we don't breathe with it, and we're going to do a lot of that moving forward in the program, if we don't give ourselves some space to start being with the energy that's creating the tension, then we tighten, right? And it's like the tightening. If I got to, okay, I feel better. We got to do the thing to feel better, right? That's kind of like the obsessive thought that's being created. If we do the thing, then it'll be okay. Which is an illusion, because ultimately we do the thing, where briefly it feels better, but it doesn't actually help in the long run, right? It's like we're giving into the little short-term treat of the sensation, but actually we just keep creating this like addictive pattern of moving again and again and again. Again, we're going to break down these words later on when we start doing the practices more and stuff like that. So it's okay. Right now, don't worry too much about understanding everything that I'm saying. Again, just allow my words to wash over and just notice where you're relating to what I'm saying or not. And it's okay, because we all see this slightly differently too. So yeah, nose, jaw, neck, shoulder, and then like my whole arm at one point, like the one I'd got to, what I was doing is I was suppressing and pushing it down, because I wasn't allowing myself to fully be with the emotion or the energy behind the movement. We're going to talk about emotional stuff later. I kept on pushing the emotions down. And because I kept pushing the emotions down, I kept pushing the tic down. And so it's kind of holding more and more to the point where like it was just like my shoulder was just going like this. And it was just my shoulder, but I was holding so much to push it down, which in the long run was like literally the worst thing to do. So if you're noticing yourself trying to hold something back, right, then we're doing something wrong. If we're fighting ourselves, then we're doing something wrong. We're not actually allowing more freedom of expression, which is where we want to actually get to. More freedom of expression, so that we're no longer scared of being seen. That's where we're moving towards in this journey together. So I started to feel embarrassed, and like if you're young, you probably aren't worrying or thinking about this stuff right now, and that's okay. You don't need to, right? A lot of the practices we're going to do in the program is just going to help, and you don't need to worry about what I went through. This is just my story. But if you're a little bit older, maybe you can relate to a little bit of the embarrassment, right? And it kind of feels awkward, doesn't it? It's like, oh, I don't like this. Oh, why am I doing this? People are looking at me. I need to hold it. I need to make sure nobody's looking at me. And this kind of hypervigilance was created in my system after living with it for a long time. There's like extra hypervigilance. And this hypervigilance, I was like wasting my energy all the time, just checking the world around me to make sure nobody's watching. And then if somebody if somebody's watching, I hold. Don't allow it to come out. Don't allow it to come out. And then if they look away, it's like, oh, okay, I can do my tic or whatever it is, you know, whatever tic we're doing, and then it comes through, right? So this was my life for a long time. Constant hypervigilance, checking if I'm being looked at. And if I'm not being looked at, then I'm allowing myself to move. Otherwise, I'm like kind of scared of allowing myself to be seen. So it was stressful. I wasted so much of my life in these stories of worry and fear and monitoring the world around me, because I wasn't just safe being here in my body. And I look back at those times now in deep compassion for myself, because it was a difficult place to be. And but at the time I didn't really realize it was a difficult place, because I just got on with it. I just got on with my life because I had so much energy. I just got on with living. Yet at the same time, there was so much of my mind, my energy was being spent in each moment, just being wasted on just holding or suppressing or pushing down. And so maybe some of you can relate to that. Maybe, depending on your age range and severity and how long you've been living with these movements for. Again, everybody's different. So with the words that I'm sharing, take what works and leave the rest. Some of these things will relate, some of them might not. It doesn't mean anything's wrong or bad or anything like wrong or bad or good or not. Take the goodness from what I'm sharing and leave the rest. Okay. We all have different journeys. So there was this kind of embarrassment, this fear of being seen, this desire, this need to hide, this wanting to hide, and especially around my parents, I didn't really want them to see it. So especially around my parents, I wanted to put up a strong face, because if I show them this weird part of me, or self, judged weird part of me, it's not actually weird, but we'll talk about what weird means later. This part of me, then I might be doing something wrong or bad. I'm not allowed to express like this. I'm not allowed to show myself in the world like this. Right? I learned that I wasn't allowed to express in all these unique ways to me, because I had to fit in a particular box of expression to keep mommy and daddy happy. That was a very normal story for me. And I don't know if that's the same for you, but for me that was very true. Right? It was very, very true. And just so you know, if at any point through this journey you want to stop the video and have a chat about things, you're invited to do that. Okay, it's there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you in this program together, and sometimes stopping and having a chat might be helpful. But again, it depends on the age. If you're super young, 7, 8, 9, 10, kids at this age usually are kind of somewhat less aware of all the stuff that's going on, right? Whereas when we get a little bit older, it's easier to articulate. But at the same time, younger kids are more just open to just talk and share, right? But usually younger kids as well are more wanting to make sure mommy and daddy are happy. Whereas teen kids are less bothered about making sure mommy and daddy are happy, right? So again, I'm just exploring the space here, because there's a lot of different age ranges that are going to be watching this video. Okay. So I got frustrated too. There's a lot of lack of control going on for me, right? It's if the body's constantly doing this thing, I got frustrated with myself that I couldn't control this. I was great at school. My grades were good. I loved studying. I loved computers. I loved doing the creation and the creativity and the art and making things. I was sporty. I did all the stuff a young kid does, right? Very happily. And yet at the same time, there was still a part of me which was expressed as the tic, which wasn't integrated, or I was frustrated because I couldn't control this thing, whereas I was really good at all the other stuff, but I just couldn't figure this thing out. I couldn't do this thing. And we'll get onto that later. It's not about figuring it out. We're going to spend a lot of time in practice in this program, not just learning stuff like you learn at school and writing things down and doing examinations. We're not doing any of that in this program. This is about practical embodied experience once we get into the first week. Okay. So yeah, and then there was pain in the body. Like after living with it for so long, by the time I got into my 20s and my late 20s, there was just genuine pain in my body regularly, right? Because I was moving so much, my shoulders like this all the time, right? I just had pain. It was just constant, like dull ache, which was always there. And I don't wish anybody to live with that for a long period of time, right? Because the body keeps the score, right? The body keeps the score. And if you're always moving for a very, very long time, the body's going to ache. It's going to be painful. So that's one of the many reasons why we want to stop it earlier on, reduce it earlier on than later on. Absolutely. So lack of control, pain in the body, fear of being seen, embarrassed by it. This is all the stuff that I went through over like multiple years. Okay, and I was ticking thousands of times a day. It wasn't just like a couple of times a day. It was like this and this, like this. It was constant, like thousands and thousands of times. Especially when I was on the computer, especially when I was in situations which were emotionally taxing for me. And we're gonna get onto sensory overload and screen time stuff later on in the program too. So, when I look back at myself back in my teens, I clearly had ADHD. I mean, it wasn't diagnosed as easy back then because I'm like in my 40s now, right? And back in the 90s, it wasn't as easily diagnosed. These days, it's easier to get diagnoses for such things. But to me, ADHD is just a body that hasn't learned to feel safe in him or herself, in their self. That's it. It's just a body that hasn't learned to feel safe here. And so the mind is scattered a bit all over the place because we haven't learned to feel safe here. And with tics or Tourette's, it's just like the mind is all over the place and the body's all over the place. So it's like ADHD on steroids. It's like over the top ADHD. That's what tics and Tourette's is. I've never met anybody with a calm mind and a ticking body. If you think that's you want to check in again because like they're intertwined. They're intertwined. I used to think I was so chilled and laid back. My body was moving, right? But my personality was, everything's cool. I'm laid back. There's nothing wrong, right? But you can see the disparity between what's actually going on in my body and what I thought I was at and who I was, right? And it wasn't years later in this journey of healing that I've had to integrate these two parts of me and go, oh, God, yeah, no, wow. My body isn't safe, comfortable, okay, calm, relaxed. Oh, yeah, I want to take care of that part of me now. And I made that decision later on in my life. For you, earlier on, it sounds, if you're in this program, so I celebrate that again. So I also lived with social anxiety because it was especially around other people, especially when I was around other people in situations where I didn't really know people and I didn't know how safe I was around people or other people, certain other people made me feel uncomfortable. And so that's when I tics more too. Okay, so certain people I'm really calm and relaxed around, but then other people I was like more ticky around. And maybe you can relate to that too. Sometimes some people have a soothing, calming, relaxing energy. Right? Other people don't. Maybe they're a little bit more stressed and anxiety-inducing themselves. We're all beautifully different in this world, and it's not about judging other people or judging ourselves. We're learning to discern what's going on and why things are doing what it's doing, and to integrate it and to balance it and to love the parts of us that have got lost along the way. That's our trip that we're going on here together. Okay. So for me, it was around 29, 30 years old that I realized that something had to change for me. I lived for 17 years fully with this ticking body, and I don't wish anybody to live with it for that long. Right? And I got to around 30 and something had to change, and my career was great in London. I was a designer product and UX designer for tech startups in London. I had a wonderful career and I was doing great. But my mindful and emotional well-being was not good, right? As communicated by my body, right? And so something had to change, and I left my partner, I left my home, I left my job, and I disappeared off east. And I traveled to Thailand and I traveled to and around many countries. And I learned many different healing modalities and tools and techniques, and so many different workshops and classes and just different trainings on my journey of healing, and over 50 different healing modalities at the point in which I started really noticing a difference in my body, and I started looking after myself better. And what you're going to discover in this program is the stuff that I kept on coming back to and that works. And the tools that I'm going to share with you are hinting and showing you how to feel differently inside your body. It's pointing you in a direction which can't be learned by the mind or the brain, but can be somatically introduced and remembered again by the body. And that's what we're going to be discovering together as you co-pilot together this trip. So I experimented with a lot, and it was a beautiful opening, I'd say an awakening part of my journey, doing this trip. And it was about 5 years ago, as I record this video program, that I started helping others with the condition, with this moving body. So that's a little bit of my journey. I have a note here. I feel as if I had these movements for as long as I did, because I didn't get the guidance and support earlier on, like fortunately you are, right, that you're getting here. There weren't any other online programs that I could find 10 years ago online for this relationship to the body. And mindful, mental, emotional well-being back in the 90s and the early noughties, it was talked about less back then. These days, more and more of us are starting to talk about how important it is to look after ourselves. Not just the physical body, but look after our emotions and look after our mind. Because this is really important. This is who we are, like at this subtle, deeper level. We're not just a body, walking through life. We're so much more subtle. There's so much more to us than that. There's so much more to us than that. And so we must start looking after those parts of us too. And unfortunately, at school, they don't teach us or help us in this context as much as I feel as if they could. And so we have to learn it in a different way. And that's why you guys are here right now. So I also had it for too long, or longer than I think I needed to, this conditioning, because I wasn't very good at talking about what was going on inside of me. I wasn't very good at talking about emotions or being open about what I was thinking or feeling. And again, that's, as a kid, like we don't necessarily have the language sometimes to talk about what we want to talk about. And learning to share what's going on inside of us, even if it's a bit messy and we're not totally sure what we're saying, it's okay. And that's what I want to say at this point, is that there's going to be times in the coming weeks that you might want to share something or express something or say something or try to talk about what's happening inside. And I want you to know that it's okay if your words are a bit messy. You don't need to be right when you share or talk about the stuff that's going on for you inside, behind the tic. And at the beginning, it might be that you don't really know, and that's okay. But over time and with these practices, you're going to start noticing different things. And when you start noticing these different things, it will be hard to sometimes articulate what's going on. And it's okay. All right? Just do your best. Right? And your parent is going to create more space to listen to you in however you want to express what's going on for you. There's going to be times where you'll both be given opportunities to share about what's going on with the practice you just did or the exercise, and be able to talk about it. And we're going to do things like, active listening, where we're not trying to fix the other person. We're not trying to talk over the other person. We're not trying to help the other person get their words out. None of that. We're just going to listen to what we want to say, what the other person wants to say, with spaciousness. Okay? So this is introducing, this whole program is going to introduce you both to a whole nother map or landscape of language, and this whole new world and landscape of language is going to help that communication happen. And if we start getting better at speaking about new things that we're noticing, we realize that the thing that was there before that used to get stuck as the tic dissolves pretty fast. It's like we're revealing back the layers. That's the journey we're going on. And revealing and peeling back the layers is what I've been through. And it is the journey of healing and changing our condition and allowing what needs to move, so that the impulses and the urges behind each movement dissolve. And then they just go. Because we're not here to fix the tic, we're here just to share, talk, move differently so that the tics just dissolve. Okay? That's the journey we're on, guys. Guys and girls, boys and girls, and non-binary folk. All of us, everybody is welcome. Here, in this space, on this journey we're about to go on. Okay? So that's a little bit more at this stage, at the beginning of this program. I hope you enjoyed my story. I hope that maybe you related to some parts of my journey and my story. If you did, you can have a little chat with, have a chat with each other right now. Like, what stood out for you from the story that you just heard? And the young Padawan maybe can go first. Right? What stood out? What could you relate to? And what are you taking away? So yeah, just have a little chat about the video that you just watched together, and then I'll see you in the next video.